Okay, welcome back. Video 4. So in video 3, we talked pretty heavily about trust, building trust, and how trust is a foundational piece in any relationship. So it made sense to start there. Now we need to actually know what we're talking about as a salesperson. And so we need to focus now on building knowledge bases. Okay, so this is what sales books talk about quite often is the salesperson becoming the subject matter expert in their field. Okay, now I know that there are a wide array of people that take sales courses, not just to be salespeople. So being a subject matter expert could be anything ranging from salespeople to um, designers to engineers, musicians, right? The list goes on and on. Okay, marketing, management, to computer information systems, accounting, right? The list goes on and on. Becoming a subject matter expert in your field is really what then starts to define you as a specialist, and is the reason why we drive higher prices for things. It's the reason why you don't come to me to do your taxes and you go to a CPA instead, right? It's the same reason why you don't go to that CPA for legal advice. You're going to those people for specialized things because they are experts in that field, and as a result you pay a higher price, right? And so salespeople tend to fall to the wayside because their product lines are very expansive. I know that we talked in previous videos that when industry publications have surveyed buyers, there's a study in 2018 by CSO Insight, and they found that out of 10 people, or out of 10 experts, salespeople did not rank first, second, third, nope, all the way down. They were between 8 and 9 for salesperson. So what does this mean? This means that when the buyer is thinking about buying something, the first thought is not, I'm going to go to a salesperson and ask them for advice. In their view, they're going to subject matter experts, they're going to industry leading specialists, and then it trickles all the way down and finally salesperson. Now, this used to be different. Salespeople used to be looked at as subject matter experts in their field, but no more. Now, why is that? Because over time, salespeople have gotten a bad rap. Salespeople have a negative connotation to them, but I think that that's changing. I really do. I think that salespeople are becoming more knowledgeable, more aware, more technologically savvy. And as things become very cluttered with the digital space, salespeople can shine by becoming subject matter experts in their field. And so how do we do that? We can do that by building the same type of chart that we built in the previous video. So we can talk about subject matter expert here. And so if we talk about a salesperson's knowledge here in the center, right? We're going to build the same type of graph that we built, or chart that we built before. And so a salesperson can be very technologically savvy. They can have a lot of industry connections. They can have a lot of company connections. They can know a lot about their product line, their services that they offer, the price and promotions that are going on. They can know a lot about the market, or they can know or they know a lot about their competition. And so the salesperson is really juggling all of these things to form knowledge bases. And you are not going to be an expert in all of these things, but you certainly need to know a little bit about all of them. And when you're going into sales calls, especially sales calls in sales classes and things like that, you're going to be pegged with questions that involve some of this stuff. So for example, for technology, it could be, tell me a little bit more about the way that this CRM, this customer relationship management software, tell me a little bit more about how this works. And you need to know the ins and outs of that. You're not just a salesperson now, you're putting on the technology hat, and you need to be able to answer those questions. In terms of the industry level knowledge base, you're going to need to know what's going on within the industry, because that's going to help you ask pointed questions in order for you to really dig deep and find out what the problems are that the customer is facing, right? If you don't know the industry well, you're not going to be able to poke and prod and ask specific questions that can actually get down into providing value for the customer. If you're selling, for example, if you're selling computer parts in a computer industry, you're going to need to know all the different facets that are involved in that space, right? You may be selling VR or AR equipment to different furniture companies because they find it cheaper to be able to have these virtual reality and augmented reality systems for their salespeople to use and go into people's homes to furnish homes and things like that. You need to know what that space looks like, right? And you need to understand what the industry is doing, where it's going, and how it's growing in order for you to have more knowledge to help the customer. So company connections are really big. People oftentimes don't think about all the connections that you have within the company. And so if we expand this out a little bit, we talk about company connections, right? And so a company is based into a lot of different things. You're going to have management, you're going to have IT, you're going to have the marketing department, and let's just say you're going to then have like the finance and accounting department, okay? And so with all of that, you're going to want to form connections with these people. You're going to want to know someone in upper level management. You're going to want to know someone in IT. The IT there maybe over here has the director and then all the subsequent people that work for them, right? So person A, person B, person C, person D. And it's going to be the same thing for all of these chains. And this is how most businesses are run, right? They have a top-down structure like this, unless you're talking about companies in Silicon Valley or something that have very flat level structures. But in this case, we're just talking about more top-down level structures. Okay, and so up top you have your VPs and then your presidents and then down to directors and all that kind of stuff. And so you as the salesperson, this is you down here, you need to be able to go and make connections in all of these areas. Why is that? That's because if you get a question and you don't know the answer to it, you have someone within your company who is an expert in IT, is an expert in, let's say, the promotions that are going on in the marketing department, or we can even extend this all the way out to logistics, right? You may need to know the logistics manager to figure out how quickly can we ship this product to you. With different things going on in the world, you could have an instance where shipping times are extended because of some sort of global phenomena, right? And as a result, you're going to need to know that from your logistics manager. And you're going to be able to provide the customer with accurate information because you've made connections within the company. Make connections with the finance department and the accounting department to learn how payment structures work. Make connections in the management department to know how the processes within your own company work, so you know if there's any paperwork that's going to be hung up when completing a sale, right? Making these connections within the company is really going to help you be an expert and have that edge that other people aren't going to have. Now, how does that work for personal selling? Well, in personal selling here, understanding the company structure that you're going to apply for is really going to help you out, because again, talking about culture in the previous video, understanding how the company works, is it a more hierarchical structure? Is it more flatlined? What does that look like? That's going to dictate the culture that you're going for, and it's going to help you make a more educated decision. Okay, so then knowing the product, and I'm just going to bundle these together. So the product and service line. Now this is going to change from company to company, because some companies have very extensive product lines, right? If you look at, let's just take P&G, Procter and Gamble, for example. Okay, if you take them, they're going to have a whole list of product lines, and they may have cleaning, and they may have health, and they may have household. That's a whole different section than like all of their cleaning products, right? And then in there you've got a whole long list of different product lines that then expand out to then having their super rugged and tough version and all that kind of stuff. And this is something that you're going to have to know. You're going to have to know the whole product category, the whole product line, and you're going to have to become an expert in those products and services. Okay. Same thing applies if you're applying for a company. You're going to want to know most of the things that the company sells, because you never want to be stuck with, tell me a little bit about about our company, and you don't know anything about what they do, what they sell, all that kind of thing, right? So you want to make sure that you become a product and service level expert, because there may be an obscure product within this product line that helps a specific customer. You may be on a sales call and the customer has a very specific nuanced need, and you're able to fit that need because you fully understand the product and service that you are catering to. Okay, so make sure that when you're doing pre-call plans, when you're doing any kind of prep work before going on a sales call, you want to make sure that you know the product line that you are servicing. Okay, and so then when we talk about knowing the marketing department, we talk about price and promotion. So for those of you that that are marketing majors, we talk about 4 Ps, right? And so it's price, product, place, and promotion. Okay. And so within these, price, obviously self-explanatory. What is the price of this product and what does it sell for? And in bulk, what does that sell for? When it scales, what does that look like? All that kind of thing. The product is, what are we actually selling? Is it a product, a service? What are we offering to the customer? The place, where is this being used? Who is the person using this? How does it get there? And then promotion, you're also going to then look at what kind of promotions are going on with this. How are we promoting the product? How are we advertising the product? Do we do any first time buying discounts? Do we do any bulk discounts? That kind of thing. And so understanding this and understanding how this works, especially in seasonality. Some salespeople in smaller sales may be selling things that are very seasonal. And with that, you're going to need to know, what does that price look like when it's out of season? What does that product look like in season? Do they need to order well in advance? I mean, some companies are getting Christmas stuff in July because they need to order that stuff way in advance to inventory it and all that kind of thing. And so understanding all of these levels of the marketing process is really going to help you be able to work with the customer fully. The other thing too is understanding what promotions are going on at that time. So for example, when I was selling windows, we often would do that the first home in a neighborhood would normally get the windows essentially, I'm just going to do a little squiggle there, essentially at cost, right? And so that's a very good value proposition for me when I'm going and knocking on doors and things like that, because people love hearing that kind of thing. But that's only for the first home in the neighborhood. Then as it branches on, the second home there gets a certain discount, right? So they get a percentage off. And then it circles back around. The third home gets a lesser percentage off, but it's still a percentage off. And then eventually you make all the way to your way where the X number home is paying then full price, right? And so understanding the way that those promotions work, I'm more armed in the conversation to be able to talk to the customer, because you don't, again, customer orientation, the previous videos, having the customer in mind first, you don't want to make claims that aren't true. And so you can still harp on the fact that you're getting a percentage off because you're one of the first customers, but you don't want to be throwing things out of at cost or whatever when that is not true. Okay, so understanding that is really important. And then the last category that I'm going to talk about quickly is talking about the competitor and then talking about the market. Okay, and then market, we can throw in customer in there. So when we talk about competitors, a lot of times objections come up in relation to the competitor. So say, well, company ABC can give this to me for X amount of dollars, right? So let's say, for example, you are working for Adobe, and you have their Sign product. So Adobe Sign is a digital signature platform. And so you're the salesperson for Adobe Sign, and you're going to this corporation that is mainly operating on paper, and you're telling them, hey, we can digitize all of this stuff. It creates less lag and bottlenecks, and papers don't get lost, and there's not a security threat and things like that. And so this company says, I'm on board. They love it. But then they say, well, you have this DocuSign company, right? And DocuSign is less money, right? Where Adobe is very expensive. You need to be ready for that. You need to be ready for the objection of your competitor. Now, if you know your competitor well, you'd be able to say different things of, well, DocuSign doesn't function as many countries as we do. DocuSign doesn't then, as a result, have as many languages as we do. So you're probably going to have to hire someone to translate these pages if you're an international company. DocuSign also can't function as well for different browsers and different platforms that your customers may be using, right? Where Adobe is all in one, it's all encompassing. Adobe is a more household name, so that's something that customers are going to be more familiar with, and thus in terms of like sense of security, they'll be able to sign documents easier, and you're not going to have this bottleneck, right? You have to be ready for understanding your competitor. And I don't know enough about DocuSign to be able to go on and on and on about them. And that would be at a fault to me, right? But if this was a sales call that I was going into, I'd be sure to arm myself with that knowledge, right? And so then also knowing your customer. So this customer may have Adobe products already. And so having the Adobe Sign added on to their current use case would be essentially a no-brainer. So understanding your customer and what they can do for you is arm you with more knowledge when you go into the sales call. Now let's think about this from a personal selling standpoint, right? And so if we go all the way back to the first page here, or second page, in personal selling, when you're applying to a company, you need to know all of this stuff too. You're certainly going to need to know the latest technology and how you can use that to your advantage. You're definitely going to need to know what industry you're applying for and how you fit into that landscape, what the company does, what product and services they offer, what is their promotions and things that they have going on right now, maybe something that really excites you about the company. And then also knowing their competitors and why you provide value to help them get an edge on their competitors. All of that stuff gives you value, and it arms you with more knowledge to bring into that conversation. And so with that, I leave you with encouragement to understand where you're operating and where you're going, and then being able to leverage the company that you work for, leverage the technology in your space, and become a subject matter expert to give yourself that edge when you're talking to the customer. So we'll see you in the next video when we talk more about the sales process and how we can move forward within the communication with the customer.